Hi everyone, welcome back to Crafting with Slavie. I have a quick video for you today, just some happy mail cards that I made a little while ago to send out to family and friends through this uncertain time that we're living through. There's a little bit of, I run out of time at the end of the video, so I'll kind of skip ahead about the construction and we can talk about some of the issues that I encountered when I was making this card because I think you need to get creative when you are crafting to make sure that you make your supplies work for you. So what I'm doing is I'm using the grid transparency that I got from Simon Says Stamp to figure out where I want my clouds to go. And the design of this card is pretty simple. I just wanted to use the rainbow from the Concord 9th Brighter Days stamp set and some of the sentiments from there to do two clouds with the rainbow in between and just stamp a nice sentiment to send to people as a happy mail card that doesn't necessarily have to be associated with any holiday or anything like that. So I used the grid transparency to line up the cloud, and I stamped it using the Ranger archival ink in jet black, and that worked really great. I did let it dry in between. I've kind of been experimenting with this ink pad. I've used it in the past and had some bleeding, but it is waterproof, so I figured if I let it dry or hit it with a heat gun, it should be fine. And the reason why I needed a waterproof ink is because I wanted to use my aqua shimmer pens on the card to give that nice, beautiful sparkle to the clouds, so that when the recipient picks it up, it's a one-layer card, but it's got a lot of interest to it. So I also made my own masks, and I made about 12 of these. So I just sucked it up and fussy cut out enough of the clouds to cover all of my panels as soon as I was done stamping them. Well, I stamped them first, and then I covered them with the masks before I started doing my rainbow. And that was just because it was easier to do that than to have to remove the mask and put it back on and use the MISTI. It just didn't make a lot of sense if I'm mass producing, so I chose to do it this way, and it ended up working out really great. Once I was done that, I started stamping away my rainbow. So the rainbow colors that I chose, because there are only 4, were Barn Door, Ripe Persimmon, Lucky Clover, and Blueprint Sketch. And there's my husband ever so kindly putting up the blind or putting down the blinds so that I don't have that light reflection on my work surface. So thank you, husband. And then I just went ahead and started stamping. I did have to stamp these colors because they're solid blocks and I hadn't used them before. I did have to stamp them about 2 or 3 times, just depending on which color I was using and how well I smooshed it onto the stamp. And then from there, I just went around with the different colors. Now, once I was done, the stamp set does come with the sun rays that you can use with the stamp set to look like the sun's rays are coming out from behind the cloud. However, when I looked at it in comparison to what I had going on here, I just didn't really love the look of it. So I went through my stash and I found a stencil that I have from Picket Fence Studios called Sunburst. It's this really beautiful stencil. It's got a smaller cutout for the sun, and I used that to put the sun on the side there, and you'll see that in a little bit. I used pixie spray to spray the back of it so that it would adhere to these panels and made my work a little bit easier. And I used squeezed lemonade to ink blend onto that stencil. And the way that I blended it was I started in the middle and then I went out and really took back the pressure, released the pressure as I was going out so that it created a lighter color. And then when I was done that, I left the masks on. So I keep the masks on for all of this. And once that was done, I went around with tumbled glass distress ink and I ink blended around the outside of this whole panel to bring in a little bit of that blue. And I made sure to avoid my sun stencil because I didn't want it to turn green. And then here you see me, before I did all of that, I did stamp my sentiment using the grid transparency again to line it up. And I used Wilted Violet to stamp this out. And because I wasn't planning on cutting the panel down, I knew I could go up to the top and just kind of center it the way that it was. And it ended up working out really great. I really like the look of these cards. So yeah, it's a really nice, simple card. So here I am with the stencil. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to put it, and you'll see that I'm not really putting it to go down. So there's no sun below the cloud, just kind of around it, which worked out really great. Okay, so from there, this is me ink blending with the tumbled glass. From there, I removed the masks and I went in and did the clouds. I tried to use my aqua shimmer pens, but I was having user error problems and I couldn't figure out how to get the stuff to come out until later. So I tried for a few cards to use the aqua shimmer pen. FYI, you do have to squeeze the thing. And when that wasn't working, I pulled out my frosted lace stickles from Ranger and I used that at the top of the clouds. But before I did that here, you can see that I was using a jelly roll pen to clean up some of that ink because my Lucky Clover was a little bit too juicy and it just made a whole mess on my clouds. So I did that, let it dry, and then I went in with the aqua shimmer pen here and then the stickles. Now, with the stickles, you'll see that I'm using just kind of a weird looking brush that doesn't have bristles because my bottle broke while I was trying to do this. So I ended up with all of this stickle stuff on the outside of the bottle. And I actually fixed it. So as you see there, me using it that way. I actually fixed it by kind of realigning it on the front. And once I used it all up, I put glossy accents on it because of the type of adhesive that it is, so that it would kind of dry and hold it all together. It's kind of an epoxy. And I also used it to attach my sequins because it just works really great. And I ended up kind of changing around how I used it because you kind of have to get into the groove of things. And yeah, so when that was all done, I had my panels. I didn't attach them to a card, but you can absolutely do that. I will do that later before I send them out. Thanks for watching. Bye.